Okay, so let's talk about this guy right here. So I've gone through a lot of these. Now I'm going to go through osmotic systems. Advantages: zero order release. You can do that. Reformulation is not required for different drugs. The release of the drug is independent of the environment of the system. So that's one thing advantageous with osmotic systems. When you have a delayed release system, advantages would be that that was weird. Advantages of this would be that you're going to totally just skip over any of the potential drug degradation areas. So, like the stomach, acid, reduced upper GI side effects as well, because you won't have the drug absorbing there when it shouldn't, depending on whether or not you ate that day or had an antacid. Deliver drug to a specific site to achieve high concentration at an absorptive membrane. So you can deliver a drug like this to a specific site, like the lower GI, in order to reach the large intestine, in order to achieve like a high concentration at that particular absorptive membrane. Now, it also may be used for local or systemic effects. Can be fabricated in two different ways. There's two ways you make delayed systems. You can make tablets or granules that are coated with enteric coating. Materials that dissolve at a pH of 6 and above. That way you don't have them dissolving in the stomach when they shouldn't. Tablets or granules are subjected to compression coating. So you can use compression coating in order to, I guess you could say, enterically coat it that way. But the enteric coating is to protect against the GI. Really, it's the main thing it's for. But you could think of like something that acts similar to that is to put an outer coat over a tablet when you compress it with natural polymers like guar gum, pectin that are degraded by colonic microflora, and that degradation there is the rate limiting step, because that's what leads to dissolution. Now, as we keep going on, you can see that in this case, it looks like almost like we're reaching. Oh, never mind. This is not a concentration graph, so never mind. Conclusions for the controlled delivery. So, extremely diverse group, lots of mechanisms that control drug delivery, complexity, and manufacturability. So you always want to modulate the magnitude and duration of drug action, and to dissociate or modify these from inherent limitations and properties of the drugs. Meaning that you want to control the properties of the drugs, control the release rate. If it dissolutes really quick and absorbs really quick, well, you can that's pretty much a dose dumping right there. The immediate release is not a good idea there, because the dose will be too high. So you want a sustained controlled release there in that case. When it comes down to complexity, they're really hard to make. Advantages of controlled release systems: you can reduce the dosing frequency. Let me think about improved patient convenience. Yeah, you give a controlled release system a lot less than you'll give immediate release, because you'll have to dose it less frequency. Improve patient convenience and compliance. Because they dose it less frequency, they reduce the GI effects, so that's a good thing. That'd be like enteric coating. Less fluctuation in plasma drug levels. Less fluctuating plasma drug levels. Because you have consistent release. This isn't a consistent release. It can also be delayed release as well. It's just as long as we're controlling the release system. We can delay it, or we can have it be a sustained release. Okay, so more uniform drug effects. So the drug effects are more uniform and balanced. Lesser total dose. Let's talk about some disadvantages, though, to controlled release systems. They're expensive. Possible dose dumping. So you don't chew these pills. If you chew these pills, then you're going to be screwed. You can have dose dumping. Not all drug substances are candidates for controlled release. So if the half-life is too short, or the half-life is too high, or it's unstable in a wide pH range, or has very low solubility, then you can't put it in a controlled release formulation, because you could dilute it into the system, but it doesn't become soluble so at any point. So you're gonna have very low actual. You can have release, but dissolution itself will where it dissolves in aqueous solution in order to be absorbed just won't happen if has very, very low solubility. You want it to be relatively soluble in aqueous, but you want it to have enough lipophilicity to cross the membrane. So then there you have to maintain your partition coefficient, and it says the optimum is 1,000 to 1. This is why we do log P. So you want it to be over a log P. In some cases, for extreme drugs, like let's say you want to get up to a rapidly dissolving tablet. This goes back to earlier, like we were saying. Rapidly dissolving tablets will have an actual partition coefficient that can get up to greater than 2. Which can be a little insane if you think of it. Not all drug substances are candidates for controlled release. So let's talk about some future directions you can go with controlled release systems. And there's a lot of ways you can go. They're coming up with all kinds of fancy new ways of drug delivery systems for controlled release formations all the time. So if you can find someone who has a fancy new idea of how to give a particular drug to someone, then you'll be super, super rich. Advances in science and technology will offer us better tools to understand physiological constraints. For example, ask Kashan in his computer modeling. It's insane what we can do in the future with quantum computing. We can formulate specific controlled release formations for one individual over another. We have the tools now to do it. It's just the right individuals haven't come together. Challenges posed by newer chemical entities will easily overcome in new controlled release formations. Products with improved in vitro in vivo correlations will emerge. So there's just some ways we can improve it. So again, science gives us better tools, challenges can be easily overcome, and products will improve. Okay, so we're getting to the very, very, very home stretch of this shit. So we're talking about transdermal drug delivery systems. Pardon my French. But So let's talk about them. This is the most interesting one to me, at least. Transdermal drug delivery systems facilitate the passage of a drug through the skin and into the systemic circulation. For transdermal drug delivery, it is considered ideal for the drug to migrate through the skin to be to the underlying blood supply without buildup in the dermal layers. So you don't want to deposit drug in the skin, because first off, you get potentiation of hypersensitivity reactions and irritation and contact dermatitis. The structure of the skin, though, here you have you basically have your epidermis, you have the dermis, and the hypodermis. Easy enough, right? But what he's not talking about here is in the epidermis. You have a main layer called the stratum corneum. And then you have a smaller layer under that called a stratum luteum. Now, if you see here, you see how densely compact this very top layer is right here. And then under a big squiggly layer of kind of live cells. Well, that's the stratum luteum. The stratum corneum is a bunch of dead keratinized skin cells, and that's the main dense dead layer on the outer protective coat of your skin that we're trying to get through with transdermal delivery systems. Oh God. Okay. Alright, so anatomy of the skin includes 3 layers. You're going to have, within the dermis is where you have a lot of blood vessels. You're going to have a lot of connective tissue, hair follicles, and sweat glands. Hypodermis is deeper subcutaneous tissue. It's made of fat and connective tissue. And you could say that, I don't know if he'll relate this to anything, but you could say that with the source of glycerin for making capsules, we could say that the glycerin itself comes from that connective tissue layer in the hypodermis of animals. Or it can possibly come from there. The skin's color is created by special cells called melanocytes. They're located in the epidermis as well. Percutaneous absorption, or absorption of substances from the outside of the skin into the bloodstream by 3 routes. Transcellular, that's straight up across the cells. Intercellular, or inter, means between, so between the cells. And transappendigeal, via hair follicles, and it's through the appendages, or through the hair follicles and the sweat glands. Factors affecting percutaneous absorption. Drug concentration, so highly concentrated drug. Drug permeation usually follows the Fick's law. The flux of solute is proportional to the concentration gradient across the entire barrier phase. So that's part of Fick's law. The flux of solute is proportional to the concentration gradient across the entire barrier phase. Cool. That doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Surface area of application. The larger the TD, transdermal delivery system, the more drug is absorbed. That just makes sense. Physicochemical attraction of the drug to the skin rather than to the vehicle itself. The drug should have a greater physicochemical attraction to the skin rather to the vehicle in order for the drug to leave the vehicle in favor of the skin. If it doesn't leave the vehicle, it won't ever have absorption into the skin at the proper site down in the dermis. So remember, it goes epidermis, dermis, and then hypodermis. Dermis is where you're going to have the majority of your absorption. Because, really, the the dermal layer is where you have all the transcellular penetration and all that happen. But you could still have it go down further. I mean, even down in the hypodermis, you can make your way kind of into some more blood vessels. But really, I mean, you're going to have your veins and your arteries in the very, very, very low layer of the dermis that are going to take you to your systemic circulation. Oh, no, you don't. Okay, so I'm getting dizzy here trying to do this. Okay. You know what? No. So we're talking about drug concentration. The drug permeation usually follows Fick's law. The flux of solute is proportional to the concentration gradient. We're talking about surface area again. Let's go back to physical chemical attractions in skin. More than a vehicle, and ability of the vehicle to increase hydration of the skin is a good thing. Now, this is why you want to apply it to shaven, dry skin. And you don't want to wet shave the skin because that hydrates the skin. If the skin is hydrated, then you have too much of the drug being pulled out, and that could be a bad thing. So you want it to leave the vehicle in favor of the skin, but you want the skin to be dry enough for the drug itself or the vehicle to hydrate the skin. So if the vehicle's hydrating your skin, you don't have anything to worry about really. In order for the drug to leave the vehicle in favor of the skin, the vehicle should hydrate, which favors absorption. Rubbing the site of application is going to affect percutaneous absorption, obviously. So when you talk about percutaneous absorption, if you rub the skin, you could possibly increase absorption, which may or may not be a good or bad thing. So you don't want to take a transdermal patch and start rubbing it into the skin, because then you're going to have too much of the drug release and diffuse at once. The ability of the vehicle to increase hydration of the skin. I'm tired of reading that one on accident. Thickness of the stratum corneum. This is the dead keratinized layer I was talking about. Thinner the layer, the better is absorption. So, you don't want to put it on your palms of your hand and the bottom of your feet, because they have very, very thick stratum corneum layers and stratum luteum layers. So it's very thick skin. You would put it on a thin area of skin, like you would say. You don't want to put it on a very rough area, so put it on your inner arm, your chest, Sorry, I just got my mind blown by the fact that I have red dots all over my body that I've never really noticed. Don't worry, it's just autoimmune disease. Drug properties for effective transdermal deliveries. So, skin condition. I have a skin condition right now, guys. Maybe I shouldn't use the transdermal delivery system. Length of time drug is in contact with the skin. Drug properties for effective transdermal delivery. Drugs with low molecular weight, so the ideal molecular weight is less than 400 Daltons for transdermal. Drugs with adequate lipid and aqueous solubility, so log P between 1 and 4. Relatively high partition coefficient. That's a really high partition coefficient. Geez, are ideal for percutaneous absorption. Now, drugs with low melting point, and because we have such a high partition coefficient, we really want it to go across, okay? We want it to go across all of that lipidness. When you're talking about diffusing through skin layers, you have to go through so many lipid layers, so your partition coefficient is so high. Drugs with low melting point, so preferably below 200 degrees Celsius would be absorbed better. We'll have our high potency, small amount required to cause an effect, less than 200 milligrams of dose. So low molecular weight, high partition coefficient, low melting point, and high potency, meaning that you need less than 20 milligram of the drug to achieve a dose. If it's anything over 20 milligrams, probably not a good candidate for transdermal delivery. If it has high molecular weight, probably not a good transdermal delivery. Not good aqueous, not good lipid solubility, then you're fucked. Drugs with high melting point, well, if you think of it, you want it to be pretty low so that it can melt pretty much on the skin itself. Once it gets in the body here, but you make them to where 32 degrees Celsius is the main thing you want to pay attention to, like a Celsius value for transdermal. We'll get to that in a second. No need to memorize. Cool. Let's just move on then. Advantages and disadvantages of transdermal delivery systems. Let's talk about avoiding the gastrointestinal system by avoiding the first pass effect. Remember, skin avoids first pass. They are non-invasive, avoiding the inconvenience of peri-internal therapy. They provide extended therapy, so very extended therapy with a single application, improving adherence. The activity of the drugs having a short half-life is extended throughout control release. So you're extending a short half-life drug through your controlled release through the skin. Drug therapy may be terminated rapidly by removal of the TDDS, transdermal delivery system, from the skin. That's a good thing. You can't untake a capsule as much as you can untake a patch. I mean, if you think of it, it just makes sense. The drug therapy may be terminated rapidly by removal of it. So that's where we left off. Only relatively potent drugs are suitable for TDDS. Remember, less than 20 milligrams per dose. Some patients may develop contact dermatitis, like I said earlier, at the site of application. So you want to avoid drugs that love to sit in the tissues too much. And by that, I mean deposit in the tissues and store there. You want it to be just aqueous soluble enough to make its way through those layers and into the blood, but more lipid soluble enough to pass through those layers themselves. Percutaneous absorption enhancers. So the way you maintain that balance is with vehicles. Honestly, the vehicle will help you get that balance, but you want to inevitably separate from it. So these are very hard to make. I mean, if you think of it, a lot can go wrong. Percutaneous absorption enhancers, but they're so easy to use. You just slap them on, and then you just, that's the good, Reduce resistance of the stratum. Percutaneous absorption enhancers. Okay, so percutaneous absorption enhancers, percutaneous across the skin layers. You can enhance the absorption through the layers by reducing the resistance of the outer layer by altering its physicochemical properties, which would be like chemical enhancers. But let's keep going. Alter hydration of the stratum corneum. If you hydrate the area, you increase the absorption. It's better diffusion, I guess you could say. Osmosis is a hell of a lot easier. Oh my gosh. So in a way, water acts like a vehicle of its own, or just hydration in general. Affect a change in the structure of the lipids and lipoproteins in the intercellular channels through solvent action or denaturation. Aid in transport of ionizable drugs. Yeah. Chemical enhancers, these modify the permeability of the skin in order to enhance the penetration of an active ingredient. You're enhancing the penetration of your active ingredient in this case. Okay. So these modify the permeability of the skin in order to enhance the penetrative action of the active ingredient. They must be physical, chemical, and biologically compatible with the system or other components. They may cause skin irritation. They demonstrate limited success with large drug molecules like proteins and peptides, so they don't really help you get that in there. They include small solvents, molecules, fatty acids, and their esters and lipids, mimicking when bulky polar groups that create more fluidity in the intracellular lipids. A few examples of chemical enhancers or surfactants, ethanol, propylene glycol, and they modify the permeability of the skin in order to enhance the penetration of the active ingredients. So they would be like enhancers rather than vehicles. Physical enhancers, heat. Heat itself will help dilate everything and just relax things and just increase the reactive rates, and everything just loves to absorb and heat. Thermoablation. Heating of the skin above 100 degrees for a short period of time to create microchannels in the stratum corneum. Oh my god. Preclinical studies, that's crazy. Microneedles, hollow solid device that's long enough to create a channel for drug solution through the stratum corneum, but short enough to not excite nerve endings and make you bleed, I would say. It's genius. The idea is genius. Ontophoresis, discussed in sonophoresis and macroflex and ultrasound. So let's talk about rate controlling transdermal delivery systems. In the case of the system, controls the rate of delivery to the skin. Here we have the drug is delivered by the system and the stratum corneum at a rate less than the absorption capacity. Skin controls the rate of drug absorption. Variations in skin will affect the amount absorbed, so skin would be the limiting membrane here. Design considerations, objectives of rate controlling transdermal delivery systems. They deliver the drug at a controlled rate and then we're doing rate controlling, so controlled rate for the absorption. Obviously, the system should possess the proper physical-chemical characteristics to permit the ready release of the drug substance and facilitate its partition from the delivery system into stratum corneum by leaving the vehicle and being in the skin. The system should occlude the skin to ensure the one-way flux of drug substance by using a backing layer. The transdermal system should have a therapeutic advantage over other dosage forms and drug delivery systems, or else why would you even give it? The system's adhesive base or vehicle and active agent should be non-irritating and non-sensitizing. Weird. The patch should adhere well to the patient's skin, and its physical size, appearance, and placement on the body should not be a deterrent to use. You don't want to put a giant piece of paper on your belly. That'd be weird. The system should not permit the proliferation of skin bacteria beneath the occlusion. So, antibacterial agents could be in there. The base vehicle should, or antimicrobial in general. The base vehicle should dissolve the drug. Okay. The vehicle should dissolve the drug. Should pull it through, but should also dissolve it. A co-solvent may be used to enhance partitioning of the drug into the stratum corneum. So, co-solvents can be used to help it partition into the outer skin layer. Penetration enhancers may be required to enhance mobility of the drug molecule. So penetration enhancer could be a chemical enhancer, if you think of it. Design features of rate-controlling transdermal delivery systems. Transdermal delivery systems can technically be categorized into two types, okay? The first is monolithic, and the other one is membrane-controlled systems. So monolithic would be matrix systems. Remember, matrix is where you have it in a polymeric matrix material, and that can degrade over time, and you have the drug just kind of sitting in there. Let's see. It's a little different in transdermal than with pills, so let's just go through it. The matrix system, the monolithic matrix systems, the drug is dispersed in a polymeric material. So yeah, that's just like the matrix before. The matrix can be produced in a sheet or cylindrical forms. So circular forms. The polymer matrix controls the rate at which the drug is released for percutaneous absorption, just like with tablets. An excess amount of drug, so a lot more than the amount needed, is used in the matrix. And thus it has a constant drug releasing capacity beyond the time frame recommended for the replacement. So you don't want to keep it on until all the drug's gone, so you're actually going to throw away some drugs. So keep in mind that in a monolithic matrix system, once you're done with the dose, doesn't mean that there's not a dose left in that. So if it's a controlled substance, people abuse this, and they're like, okay, sweet. An excess amount of drug is used, and thus it has a constant drug release capacity beyond the frame recommended for our replacement. The backing layer is occlusive to retain skin moisture and ensure one-way flow. Membrane control reservoir systems are designed to contain a drug reservoir or a pouch, a rate-controlling membrane, a backing, an adhesive, and a protective liner, all in layers. So lots and lots of layers, just like before. So the way this is a controlled system is you have a reservoir of the drug, okay? But you have the liner or the skin in pink, so the skin is pink. You have an adhesive that sticks to the skin, right? Then you have a membrane, okay? That membrane is the only thing stopping dose dumping of the entire reservoir of the drug into the adhesive and then into your skin. So the adhesive and the membrane are the only thing keeping you from dose dumping there. So let's keep going through this though. The backing layer is occlusive to retain skin moisture and hydrates skin application, increasing drug penetration and absorption. Ethylene vinyl acetate is a commonly used ingredient polymer in the membrane. So, membrane-controlled systems have the advantage over monolithic systems in that I just broke my back. Membrane-controlled systems have the advantage over monolithic systems in that as long as the drug solution in the reservoir remains saturated, the release rate of the drug through the controlling membrane remains constant. As long as the drug solution in the reservoir remains saturated, the release rate stays constant. Okay. Any compromise in the membrane integrity results in dose dumping. Dose dumping, more intended dose amount is released at a time. Complex dosage form requires special attention. Special attention. It's special, but it's special attention during fabrication. I'll give him that one. That's probably, you just don't know. I don't know. It's a simple mistake. Okay. Did good with this picture though. Matrix monolithic. The adhesive surrounds the drug. So in the matrix, your drug is dispersed in the adhesive. Whoa, then you got this freak show right here, the monolithic membrane that's just super non-able to dose dump. It's interesting. Drug release characteristics from a TDDS. So I need to start going through this a lot faster because it's killing me on time. Got 11 more to go. Drug release from the most TDDS follows fixed laws of diffusion. It is desirable that the blood concentration CP of a drug is less fluctuating throughout the treatment period. For effective drug therapy, the blood concentration must be above the minimum effective concentration, but below the minimum toxic concentration. So you want to keep it in the therapeutic window. Rationally designed, TDS can provide effective drug therapy. TDS, however, are removed before the entire drug has been released. Okay, membrane-controlled reservoir systems. The reservoir system encloses an excess amount of active ingredient in a non-aqueous vehicle and compartment separated by the skin and by a polymeric membrane that controls the drug delivery. Drug diffusion takes place through the membrane that controls drug release. The reservoir contains an excess amount of drug so that the membrane remains saturated with the drug throughout the period of its use. Rate-limiting membrane allows the drug diffusion at a slower rate than the stratum corneum, such that the control of drug absorption is provided by the system. Any compromise in the integrity of the membrane will lose the system's ability to control the release rate, and then it's therefore up to the skin to control the amount that absorbs into the system. The excess amount of the drug in the reservoir. Matrix system. The matrix system contains an excess amount of drug dispersed in the polymeric matrix, similar to the reservoir, but diffusion of the drug through the matrix controls the release of the rate of the drug from the system, while the absorption rate is controlled by the permeability of the skin over which it is applied, obviously. The matrix system design is simpler to construct, so it's easier to make. Because of its design, matrix controls drug release. The matrix systems have low dose dumping potential. Dose dumping means more of the intended dose. You stay within that therapeutic window. A few examples, you have your transdermal scopolamine. Transdermal scopolamine was first one to receive FDA approval. It is indicated for preventing traveler-related motion sickness, and it is a 4-layer system, backing layer, and then a bunch of other layers. It contains not much of scopolamine. It's designed to deliver 1 milligram of scopolamine, so you have more scopolamine than you need, and it's a consistent rate to system circulation over the 3-day lifetime. The patch is worn in the hairless area behind the ear, and is applied at least 4 hours before anti-nausea effect is required. Patients should wear only 1 patch at a time, must not cut or alter the patch in any way. It was the first one to be FDA approved, transdermal nitroglycerin. So you have patch on and patch off periods with some of them, like this one, because you have tolerance. Don't cut or alter it, and then every day alternate it to put it in the same spot. So patches, not systems. So think of lidocaine. These aren't transdermal delivery systems, they're just patches. The release liner is removed just prior to application. The patch contains in a base. The base so yeah, you just take it's just a backing adhesive, and the drug's in the adhesive. There's no other layer there. I mean, that's pretty much, that's exactly how a monolithic system is. So, patches, you can cut them. Depends though. You can only do 3 patches once every 12 hours within a 24-hour period. 12 on, 12 out, off. You can only do a max of 3 patches, and all at the same time for up to 12 hours within a 24-hour period. So 12 on, 12 off, 12 on, 12 off. Gel emulsion, solution, ointment. Examples: nitroglycerin ointment. Diffusion cells can help you evaluate percutaneous absorption. You just have a fake membrane. Just fake diffusion cells. Here we go. Here's where we start getting into the nitty-gritty of the bullshit he's going to ask. So, there's 7 types of USP apparatus. Okay? There's 7 of them. Apparatus 5, 6, and 7 can be used to evaluate transdermal delivery systems, but 5 is the most common. Suspend in a suitable medium at 32 degrees Celsius that we make the drug at. Oh, you can have reservoir and matrix systems being bioequivalents, but matrix systems are less likely to dump their dose, so it's really up to the patient, really, and the doctor. Sink condition means as soon as the drug passes through the membrane, it's removed. Is this something he would ask? You think he would ask this? I mean, honestly, this took a really, really long time to do on the application. Okay, now we're getting into the macroflux transdermal technology. So let's talk about the microprojection, the micropores. You have an adhesive patch with a titanium screen supporting precision microprojection. So little tiny needles, an adhesive back. And these needles are 33 gauge needles, so they're 1/3 the size used for immunizations. Super, super small. Microflux applicator is on the bottom image right there. You can see that it's just the gray little things stabbing through the dead skin, entering the epidermis, and diffusing into the dermis. Creates an advantage for peptide drugs and other macromolecules because they can force their way down through the dead skin layer. Look how small they are. You can see the needle is destroying this dude's skin. Let's talk about sonophoresis. Sonophoresis is the enhancement of migration of the drug molecules through the skin by ultrasonic energy. Sonophoresis occurs because the ultrasonic waves will stimulate micro vibrations within the skin epidermis and increase the overall kinetic energy of molecules. So that will help them open up little tiny pores also by disrupting the lipid bilayer to let the let drugs get through. Higher the frequency, the more dispersed the transmission. For sonophoretic delivery, the desired drug is dissolved in a solvent and applied to the skin. So it does not really depend on aqueous solubility here. It could be non-aqueous or aqueous soluble in sonophoresis. Desired drug is dissolved in a solvent and applied to the skin. The ultrasound can be applied in a continuous or pulse mode, but the pulse mode is frequently used to reduce the severity of side effects. So if you get contact dermatitis, blah blah blah. Frequencies: therapeutic frequency of 1 to 3 megahertz. Low frequency below 1 megahertz. High frequency anything above 3. Ultrasound intensity, various intensities in the range of that watts per centimeter square. What is that? What that is? Mechanism of sonophoresis cavitation occurs due to the nucleation of small gaseous cavities during the negative pressure cycles of ultrasound. This cavitation leads to disordering of the lipid bilayers and formation of aqueous channels. Like I said, it's the little pores in the skin through which the drug can permeate. Convective transport. Fluid velocities generated by ultrasound frequency may affect transdermal transport by inducing convective transport of the permeant across the skin. Mechanical stress, the ultrasound itself is a longitudinal pressure wave that kind of forces lipids to fuck themselves and eat the drug. Sonophoresis can be used in the treatment of damaged skin, hormone delivery, steroids, gene therapy, blah, 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 blah. Not all drugs are ideal. Ionophoresis. Ionophoresis is based on the principle that a soluble salt or drug can be transported across the skin barrier as part of electric current induced in the skin. The quantity of distribution of delivered drugs is dependent on the ion charge, molecular weight, intensity, and current. So charge, molecular weight, intensity of the current, and concentration of the drugs. As well as the contact surface of the area of delivery, electrode, the duration of current. So all this is just common sense to what you would think would be important for a ionophoretic system. Keep in mind, it's best to have them aqueous solution, and they want to be ionized. The drug is ionized. Electrical potential is applied to the drug reservoir to aid in skin penetration for ionic drugs. Ionophoresis device consists of battery, microprocessor, controller, drug reservoir, and electrodes. In ionophoresis, sweat gland ducts and hair follicles provide the pre-existing aqueous pathways that potentially allow the passage of water-soluble molecules upon the application of low voltages across the skin. However, the permeation flux provided by this is often much smaller than what is desirable. Know the direction you would want. If it's a negative drug, you would put the anode on the skin and the cathode on top. Advantages of ionophoresis. Controlled drug delivery, okay? Bypasses the GI system. Fewer side effects and interpatient variability. Avoids risk of infection associated with para-internal therapy. Enhances patient compliance. Skin irritation at high current densities. So anything over 0.5 milliamps per centimeter squared can be tolerated, or anything above that cannot be tolerated pretty much. You must stay up to that or below it. Limited types of drugs can be administered by this route. Magnitude of the current applied, physical chemicals, characteristics of the drugs, charge, size, structure, lipophilicity, formulation of factors, drug concentration, ionic strength of the buffer, pH, viscosity, biological factors, and electrode, and whatever. Ionophoretic units would be available in sizes similar to the transdermal patch. Ionophoresis patches may be capable of sampling blood, analyzing specific concentrations, and delivering the needed dose of the drug. You can sample blood with it. That's why we get down to the glucose watch. Every 10 minutes, up to 12 hours. Pulse doses of drugs, okay? Patients should avoid be advised on the importance of using the recommended site and rotating locations within the site. Rotating locations is important to allow the skin to regain control of normal permeability and to prevent skin irritation. It's important to use different application site every day. Example of rotation may be upper right, chest, upper left, repeat. TDS shall be applied to clean, dry skin, relatively free of hair, not oily, inflamed, irritated, broken, or calloused. Wet or moist skin can accelerate a drug. Permeated and oily skin can impair it. If hair is present at the site, should be carefully cut, not wet shaved, and should be not use a dilapidatory agent, something that would bleach the hair off pretty much, since later it can remove stratum corneum and affect the rate of the extent of drug permeation. So no harsh chemicals, okay? Example of rotation, maybe day 1, upper right arm. Yeah, I lost my spot. Hair's present. Affected rate. Use of skin lotion should be avoided at the application site because lotions affect the hydration of skin. The patient or caregiver should cleanse the hands after applying it because it could absorb through your hands. And also, you should not rub your eye. Obviously, release liner should be removed with care. You don't want to do it really quickly because you're going to fuck it up. Press firmly against the skin for about 10 seconds so it can adhere. It can stick to you. It can be adhesion. It could do fucking adhesion to your skin. God, can't get it out. They should be left on when showering, bathing, and swimming. You fold it in its half with adhesive layers sticking together so it cannot be reused. The used patch discarded in a manner safe to children and pets, and special consideration should be given to dispose of it if it's a narcotic. If the patient exhibits sensitivity or intolerance, the patient should inform his or physician. Okay, so we're gonna switch on over to my review. We're going to quickly go through my Dropbox review. Short version. Right here. Right now. 15 minutes. NDC, labeler code, product segment, package code. Crystal properties. You want to make sure that you have highest melting point, lowest solubility, and max chemical stability. So high melting point, low solubility, and max chemical stability. That's the best, most stable. Okay. Polymorph. Polymorphism, powder character, mechanical behavior, hygroscopicity, absorbing moisture from the air, solubility, permeability, stability, direct compression, granulation, coating, novel approaches, drug dose, route of administration, all that, compatibility, mechanical behavior, crystallinity, hygroscopicity, stability, and cost. So all the parts have something to do with excipients. So, glass. Inertness, visibility, stability, FDA acceptable. Disadvantages, heavy, breakable, expensive. There's borosilicate, treated soda, lime, and soda lime. You don't give it for IVs. Plastics. Self-explanatory. Leaches things. Can't use nitroglycerin in it. Light gets through. Well closed, protects the contents from solids. Tight, solids, liquids, vapors. Hermetic, any fucking gas at all, okay? Child resistant container. Tamper resistant, has a tamper seal. Light resistant. Light resistance, compliance, helps you with it. Single dose is single punch out tab, single dose container, single injection, multiple unit dose, birth control, multiple dose container, flu shots, storage temperature and humidity. Okay, here's where I'm starting to get into something useful. Freezer, -25 and -10, okay? Cold, 2 to 8. Cool, 8 to 15. So remember, just think negative room temperature to -10. Cold, 2 to 8. Cool, 8 to 15. So it goes -25 to 10 is freezing, and then cold is 2 to 8, and because your fridge is cold from 2 to 8, and cool is just, like my desk made of metal or something is cool to the touch. It's 8 to 15. Okay. Warm. Let's talk about room temperature actually. 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. So we're going to start freezing, -25 to -10. Cold is 2 to 8. Cool is 8 to 15. Room temperature is 20 to 25. Warm is anything between 30 and 40. Anything over 40 is considered excessive heat. Less than 40 humidity. And general storage conditions, room temperature, just normally it'll last about a year. Anything above that, we start putting in a warm temperature of 30 degrees to 40 degrees, and it'll only last about 6 months. Now, if it's intended to be stored in a cold place, like in your fridge from 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, then it'll last a year. It's in its proper storage. Now, if you put something that's intended to be stored in a cold place, then and you put it in every freaking time I make every time I make a video, there's leaf blowers. Jesus Christ, really? 25 degrees Celsius, room temperature when it's supposed to be in the fridge. Anytime you do something wrong, it's 6 months, okay? Here's a zero order reaction. Let's talk about the units here. Okay, for first order kinetics, the unit for K is in inverse units of time, okay? First order is the ln 2 over K. CT is negative KT plus CO. Okay, cool. Half-life, what's the half-life for that? Is 1/2 CO over K0, essentially. Or C0 over 2K0. And we're at the point where there's 10 minutes till the test, so okay, and I gotta stop it here. Sorry.